success is not about what you do. It's about what you don't do. When you're growing your business, you have all these limiting beliefs. I like to think of it as like truths that you don't know yet. You're living in this false reality. You've built this fake idea in your head that because everybody else is charging these numbers around me, that if I charge any more, then I'm not gonna get any work. Money is not the means to more money. Money is a tool to get me to where I wanna be. You gotta get comfortable like living in a state of uncomfortability.
Is that a word?
I don't know, but it is today. What's up, y'all?
Jared, how's it going, dude?
It's going good.
Good, man. Second cup of coffee.
Did I sneak up on you?
With that intro?
Yeah.
No, see, it's like it happens so regularly, and I know to expect it when I'm in this room. That's not very surprising.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, today we're going to talk about 6 habits you can't become rich without.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's like
Super
just
dense.
6?
Like mic drop.
That's all you need is 6?
All you need is these 6. No, but these are like 6 habits that, I mean, I've had to work on in order to become rich. That I think if you can just understand them and grasp them, then it's going to greatly increase your chances of being wealthy. And, you know, we talk about plumbing business, so it's going to greatly increase your chances of being successful with your plumbing business.
Yeah, because I think the first question is like, well, Jared, why do I have to practice these 6 habits to have a successful plumbing business?
Because practice makes perfect, man. Like most guys coming, you know, they're coming out of the field, they started their business, they're not business people, and they're not, you know, they lack skills and qualities that a business person needs in order to be successful, right? And that's really like what, it's really the difference between rich people and not successful people.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Is these qualities that they possess, their ability to do certain things.
And
right?
maybe they're, like they have to practice these qualities. Like these aren't innate qualities.
No, and it's not something that when you start at, you're going to be good at right out of the bat. You need to start doing them, and then over time, you'll get better at them.
It seems to me that, like when we start like talking about these things, it seems that at least sort of with the people that I've been talking to, even like within the plumbing community, it's like these aren't even like concepts that have floated around yet. Like they're not even like introduced like, oh, I should be thinking about this and disciplining myself in this way.
Right.
Why? Why is that?
Because it's just not, you know, when you're working in the field, it's not something you really have to think about. You just wake up, put your pants on, go to work, and you know, you're more in like this technical mindset of being able to fix things. You have to work, you know, it's just a different skill set. So it's not a skill set you need when you're a technician out in the field. And it's not even really a skill set you need when you first start your business. It would help you out tremendously. And all of these skill sets would help you to be a way better technician as well. But they're skill sets that you don't have to have in order to do your job properly, right?
Right, gotcha. As a technician.
Yeah. But if you want to get rich, you want to grow a plumbing business and grow wealth, then you need to understand these 6 things because they're necessary.
Oh, sure.
Right? It's a necessary skill set. They're necessary habits that you have to form.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Glad there's only 6 of them.
Me too.
Actually, I wish there was 12 of them, to be honest.
There is more. We'll come up with there's more, but I only pulled out 6.
Yeah. The most important ones?
Of course.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Okay, good. I'm ready to be blown away.
Okay, so number 1, don't make money to be happy.
Oh, come on, dude. That's all I'm trying to do.
I know money does kind of make you happy, but you should not be making money to make you happy. Instead, you should be happy and then you should make money the other way around.
It's kind of like a chicken and the egg kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, you shouldn't be looking to make a bunch of money and then thinking that that's going to make you happy. It's like for the guy who can't get in shape at home because he doesn't have the discipline. And then he goes to this, so he's like, okay, I'm going to get a gym membership. So he starts going to the gym, but then he doesn't get in shape at the gym. It's because he didn't have the discipline, right? He didn't have what it took to get in shape from the beginning.
Or even like he gets a gym membership, but he just never goes to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. And changing his circumstance didn't really change his ability to get in shape, right? So just like changing the condition that you're in isn't going to change how happy you are. So there's rich people all over the world. There's poor people all over the world. There's happy poor people. There's miserable poor people. There's happy rich people. There's miserable rich people. Money doesn't make you happy, right?
I guess it is also, I mean, it's a relative measurement, because there's probably people out there who are like, I don't consider myself poor, even though you're like, dude, you're dirt poor. Like, I don't see it that way, because they might have different measurements of what it means to be rich to them.
Yeah, true. Like people who are, even flip that around the other way, people who are poor in the United States, like compared to somebody else, they're pretty well off, right?
Yeah.
They're not living in a hut with dirt floors, that's for sure. I mean, some of them probably are, but a lot of them aren't, right?
Yeah. So why is it that you think, well, let me ask you this, actually, better question. Did you ever look to riches to make you happy?
Not really, but I kind of thought like when I make more money, it's going to be easier to be happy.
Okay.
Because I hated being poor.
Yeah.
But what was really going on is I was allowing my emotions to be controlled by outside circumstances instead of controlling my, basically letting outside circumstances control my inside feelings. And that just means you're not in control of your emotions, right?
Sure, which just means you're not in control of yourself.
Yes, exactly. And so, because outside circumstances, like when you start growing your business, that's going to be one thing that outside circumstances you're not going to be able to control. And if you're emotionally connected to those outside circumstances, you're letting them control your emotions. Then every time you get a 1-star review, every time your business, your guys don't do what you want them to do, or something's not going your way, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. Like building your business, it's a roller coaster, right?
Right.
It's like some days it's like, cool, this thing's rocking and rolling. Other days it's like, this thing's going to explode at any minute. And if you let those things control your happiness, then your happiness is going to be a roller coaster the whole time.
Sure.
And that never goes away in business. It's continually a roller coaster.
Yeah, so you're saying that, like, because also it's like, not only don't fall for that money will make you rich, but what about this? What about money will make you happy? What about this? What about like the success of your business? That'll make you happy.
Yeah, that's not going to make you happy either.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then it's good to be able to practice being happy, whether your business is successful or not successful.
Yeah. Is it going to, is your business being successful going to make you proud? Is it going to bring you a little bit of happiness? Yes.
Sure. Is it satisfaction maybe?
Yeah, satisfaction. But is it the thing that's going to make you happy? No, it's not.
Yeah. So for you, I guess in this moment, have you found happiness? Because that's sort of a weird term, right?
It is a weird term.
Because I don't really know what that means. Because it's like, is happy smiling? Is it laughing? Does it feel like I feel good all the time? Is happiness even the right term here?
I don't know. I think I would say I'm happy, and I don't think, and I think, on good days I'm happy, on bad days I'm happy. They don't affect my happiness. All of my businesses could go away and I'd still be happy. I could have to go jump back in a vehicle or in a van and go do some plumbing work to make ends meet, and I'd still be happy, right? It's not going to affect my happiness.
Right.
So yeah, I'd say I'm happy. And I think that's what, trying to define happy by outside circumstances, like I said, is the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah, because what you'll find is that if you don't deal with the internal circumstances, it doesn't really matter what you have going on outside.
Yeah.
If those internal circumstances are miswired, then you're just going to be upset at something no matter where you're at.
Yeah. Now, we all are human. Bad stuff is going to happen. You're going to get upset, right?
Yes, you are.
Somebody's going to die. That's going to be pretty upsetting, that kind of stuff. We're still human, but overall, I think we could do a much better job of controlling the way our outside circumstances depict the way we feel on the inside.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And especially for a business, somebody going into a business, because there's going to be those outside circumstances are going to be so amplified.
Yeah,
there's going to be so many more opportunities for good and bad outside circumstances that if you let those depict your emotions, then that turns business from this, thing where you're, if I'm looking at my business, I'm looking at it like from top down, right? So I'm looking at the business as a whole, and I'm seeing, okay, so this went wrong in the business, and this went well, and this thing went okay. So how do we, pull these levers or tweak these things to make this thing do what we want it to do?
Right, sure.
When you're letting those circumstances, control your emotions, it's really hard to look top down on your business and your business as a whole, because that emotion immediately pulls you back into your business, right? You get that 1-star review and you react to it emotionally rather than reacting to it in a logical fashion.
Right.
Of like, okay, I got a 1-star review. Like, first of all, how do we handle this? Second of all, how do we learn from this? And how do we stop it from happening again? What are some processes we can put in place? Like what actually went wrong in that instance? What was actually the problem? Is this a one-off thing, or is there actually something that we need to fix in our business? If you're emotionally attached, you're not going to be able to do that in your business.
Yeah, gotcha. It sounds like it's gonna slow down the rate that you can actually figure out why that thing happened.
Exactly.
Because you're not really in the right frame of mind to go, oh, why did this bad thing happen? Or why did this happen? Or even, why did this good thing happen?
Exactly.
Right? Like, why is today a good day? Like, what did I do today that made today good, as opposed to the same thing that happened yesterday and today was bad?
Yep.
Dude, I think that's so important to be able to discern those things.
Yeah.
Because the more that we can sort of set ourselves up for success in our habitually, like controlling those things we can, then when the weird things happen, it's not like this, like, oh, I'm totally thrown off and like things are going terrible. It's like, oh, wow, that's an interesting problem I have to solve.
Yep.
And you just have a lot more emotional density before you actually become tilted.
Yeah. And that's just it. Like, business is literally just a bunch of systems and processes and data to track if your systems and processes are working.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to look at it from that point.
Yeah, and I think if the more that you're aware of your own emotional, like I want to say like temperament almost, the better that you, because business is also built of humans.
Yeah.
So like at one sense, there is this machine, this thing where you can pull levers, you can change price, you can increase marketing, you can do whatever. But then there's a bunch of humans are in the middle of it. So you still have to like I'll use the word condescend to the human level, and then be like, okay, how do I be a human to these technicians who are having a bad day, but not get so human that then you become having a bad day.
Right.
Because now that's not helping your technicians. That's not helping the business. Now it's hard for you to go and focus on the machine. So it's sort of like this dance you have to play between the both.
Yep.
But if you aren't emotionally, what's the right word here? I keep wanting to say emotionally dense, but I mean that like insulated maybe.
I would say you're emotionally mature, emotional intelligence.
Emotionally aware, maybe?
Emotionally aware.
Yeah.
You're controlled, emotionally controlled.
Yeah, you have I would say you have a good deal of self-control.
Yeah.
And that gets more important in leadership. Like, because if you're the guy who's his emotions are on his sleeve, like, you're that technician who's, man, if you're mad, everybody knows it. If you're happy, everybody knows it. And I think we've all been that guy at some point.
Yep.
But when that guy moves into leadership, it becomes a volatile place.
Yeah.
Because what you think is just a casual expression of emotion, like, yeah, this is stupid. Like, that's fine when you're a technician. Well, arguably fine.
I don't think it's fine.
Exactly. Arguably fine.
Like that guy right there, he is... Like the guy, he's a prime example of a guy who's letting his outside circumstances control his emotions, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so for him, just normal everyday work is an emotional roller coaster.
Sure.
And it affects everybody in the business.
Yeah, true.
And that's just him as a technician. Now imagine the business owner just imagine that guy moving up into management and how big of an effect that's going to have on the people working for him. They're going to hate it because they're never going to know what's going on with this guy, right?
Yeah, sure. Because, I mean, really, like...
He's not going to be able to make good decisions, educated, data-driven decisions. And then the employees are going to come in and go, what kind of mood is homeboy going to be in today?
Yeah.
Right?
What level of work do I need to do to not piss this guy off?
Yeah.
And that's something you don't want your employees to be thinking about. You just want them to think about doing their job well.
Yeah. So now imagine that's the business owner.
Yeah.
And you're the leader of the company. And people are looking to you to like grow this thing and build this thing and lead them into a better future. And you're emotionally all over the place. Nobody's going to want to work for you.
Right.
Your company's going to be a mess, right?
Yeah. And then, so what are some tangible steps to develop that skill of becoming more emotional, mature, and aware and more self-controlled?
I have no idea.
Oh, crap.
No, you know me, I'm a big fan of like learning by doing. So throwing yourself in there.
Sure.
But being aware of what you're doing, right? So not just recklessly doing, but going, okay, I've got to, like, my best example would probably be, myself, obviously, like going into building a business and then going in and having employees and realizing, okay, I actually have to lead these people. They need like a leader and they need some management. But it was not my strong suit, right? To go in and lead people and manage people. And so, but I had to do it. Number one, had I not done the stuff to get to that point, I never would have had that realization, right?
Sure.
And then if I wouldn't have been, introspective enough to realize, okay, these guys need a leader, I better step up the plate and try to figure out how to lead. So then I went and did the leadership thing,
Sure,
right?
you rose to the task at hand.
Yeah, and that immediately made me a better leader just
Right.
because I was actually trying to be a good leader, right? And in doing it and practicing it and doing it enough, I did it good enough to get me by until I could get a better, a guy who's good at leadership in there, right?
Right.
So I'm a big fan of just pushing forward and doing.
Sure.
And that's how you're going to learn how to control your emotions, right?
Right.
But just know, like when you go into business, you can start thinking about that stuff now. Like you can start going and doing stuff. And when you get that 1-star review and you find yourself being emotional, then just go, oh, wait, this is just emotions. Like I need to think about this logically, data driven. Like, okay, why did I get that 1-star review? What's the best way to respond to this? Rather than me responding in emotion, let's think about just think about the situation for a minute of, okay, this person left me a bad review. What's the way that I can respond? Because everybody else is going to see this bad review and the way I respond matters. So let me respond in a non-emotional way, in a way that makes me look good or better than if I was to respond in anger or sarcasm or you did this and you did this, or blame, or defense, right? Those are all emotional responses.
Right.
So I think you can just be aware of those things. And when you find yourself doing those things, go, oh, okay, this is not this isn't emotional. I'm letting this control my emotions, right? And then just don't let it do that anymore.
Yeah. And I think what you say is good because this is like on this podcast, we're mostly to our listeners, we're talking in theory.
Yeah.
We're saying, hey, here's the theories and all these things. And we're confident talking about these things because, Jared, you have done all these things and you've seen success.
Yep.
And theories are great, except theories are they're good if you put them into practice. But if you just hold them in your head forever, then it's really hard to actually see development in those theories.
Yeah.
So it's like getting and applying those theories is really important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because otherwise you're not building the habits, because we're talking about habits here.
Yep.
And these are all habits to be built, and that has to happen in a place where you can actually build those habits.
Correct.
I think it takes a lot of self-awareness, especially with this one, if we're just talking about emotional intelligence or emotional awareness, because it happens not just at work, because you go home and you have to weather the storm, whatever may be there, and you still have to be content in your home.
Yep.
With your kids or with your wife or your dog or whomever.
Yep.
So even then, don't let your guard down. Be like, oh, wow, I am reacting poorly.
Yeah.
I should try to change this habit. And the problem is we get into patterns of reaction. So it's with my kids, I'll get into a pattern of negative reaction.
It doesn't matter with your kids.
Oh, really? Them, that's just like whatever.
Just kidding.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyways.
You can just yell at them.
Yeah, it's fine. Their kids will figure it out. But I'll get into a pattern of negative reaction, not necessarily because they're doing all these things, but just because have decided that annoys me.
Yep.
And it will continually annoy me. So I'm just going to continually react out of that annoyance. And now I create this pattern.
Yep.
Instead of sitting down and be like, does that really annoy me? Is this something that should annoy me? Is it their fault that it annoys me, or is it my fault that it annoys me?
It's always their fault.
Thanks, Jared. Well, that's good to know.
No, yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, so just practice awareness.
Yep. Be aware of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2. Mm-hmm. Success is not about what you do. It's about what you don't do.
Yeah, this one's always tough for me because I always like doing stuff.
I like doing stuff too, but it's like the idea is in order to be successful, you've got to be able to do all of this stuff, right?
Sure.
So which means you have to not do a bunch of other stuff, right? So
naturally.
Yeah, because you need the time to do the things that you need to do in order to be successful, right? So you need to get really good at saying no to stuff, right? So like, hey, you want to come over for dinner tonight? No, I'm going to be working on my price book tonight.
Right.
Or, hey, you want to go on vacation? Nope, I'm growing this business, right? So I think like Grant Cardone, he always says, every time he wanted to grow to the next level, it took sacrifice.
Sure.
Right. And so he had to, there's always a trade-off. There's this trade-off of, okay, I want to get to the next level, but it's going to take time from me, right? And I'm going to have to trade, like something's going to have to give, right? You only have so much time. So saying success isn't really what you do, it's more of what you not do. It's because you need to say no to a lot of stuff in order to be able to do stuff, right?
Right.
Hey, you want to go out drinking tonight? No, because tomorrow morning I need to be bright and alert and ready to rock and roll because I'm trying to grow my wealth over here, right? That kind of stuff.
Do you think that results in the loss of friends?
Maybe, but I mean, I would argue like those friends, you're going to lose them anyways, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you keep pursuing like a more disciplined life, a life that's towards being successful, towards being wealthy.
Yep.
And I think that's the hardest thing because it's like you need to stop doing this thing, but this thing is fun. You enjoy this thing. It's with these people. But if that is holding you back in growing your business, you have to weigh those options. You're like, well, is this better for me? Do I want my life to maintain where it's at, hang out with these people doing these things, or do I want to grow my business? And to do that, I have to sacrifice the time with them so that I can do that.
Yep.
Does that ever, in your experience, does that ever get better? Like, do you find yourselves like sacrificing less as you become more successful?
No, but I think if you can like define what you're sacrificing, like what you're willing to sacrifice in order to achieve something, then you're always going to find that it's worth it, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah. Okay. Gotcha. It's not needless sacrifice.
No, it's not needless at all. It's like, okay.
It's very careful.
Like I was willing to sacrifice, a lot. There was 2 years that I put in where I basically just worked on my business, right? For like 2 years. I sacrificed going and doing stuff with friends, sacrificed going out to dinner. I wasn't a partier or a drinker or any of that, but I was willing to not do that stuff so that I could be attentive and pay attention to my business, right? And so all of that was worth it because on the flip side, like 2 years of hardcore work in, the output of that was well worth the 2 years of work I put in, right? The upside was well worth it. There's obviously wealthy people here on this world who are willing to sacrifice a lot more than me.
Sure.
Right. So they're willing to sacrifice their families, their relationships, time with their kids, time with their wife. I'm not willing to sacrifice that. Right. So I think you have to up front go, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice these things. And these are the things that I'm going to say no to.
Sure.
And these are the things that I'm going to continue to say yes to. But in the time that I would normally be spending with these no things, instead I'm going to use that time and that energy to further my purpose in business, or further my, business isn't the only focus you should have and the only thing you should be growing, but I'm going to use that time to further focus on the things that I actually want out of life, rather than focusing on these things that don't necessarily matter to me.
How about this? It's, you're sacrificing either way. So either way you're sacrificing, but it's what is your sacrificing in pursuit of?
Yeah. One way you're sacrificing your goals, you're sacrificing your building wealth, you're sacrificing, moving forward in those areas because you want these other things. And if that's what you want, that's fine.
Sure.
Nothing wrong with that.
Just realize you're limiting yourself by doing one thing.
Yeah. But if you want to get wealthy, then you need to sacrifice other things so that you can have the time to spend to put your attention on getting wealthy.
Yeah, and it seems like it's harder to get wealthy because it seems more natural to just hang out with my friends and just not have to do a bunch of stuff. That seems like the easier path.
It is, because that's what everybody else does, right?
Yeah, sure. And
so it's easy.
Sort of by nature, then those who then actually become wealthy are those who have been able to prioritize and to, I would say, guard their time better.
Yep.
So that they know that hey, when I'm doing something, it's actually meaningful and it's actually furthering a venture that I have.
Yeah. It was so like you said, are you going to lose friends?
Right.
Absolutely you are. I have way less friends than I did 4 years ago. Or I still have the friends, but I don't talk to them.
Sure.
And it was actually yesterday I talked to a friend that I hadn't talked to in a long time who's still just we used to talk. When I met him, we were kind of in the same place, right?
Yeah.
And then I started getting into growing my business and started wanting to further myself so that I could have the skill sets to be able to grow this business to the point that we grew it. And so I had to grow as a person to be able to do that, right? And it was so awkward talking to him yesterday. I hadn't talked to him in a year and a half, and he's in the exact same boat, right, that he was in when I first met him. 3 years ago, exact same boat.
Did you guys talk about the same thing, the same work stuff and the same personal stuff?
It was hard for me to even relate to him because I have grown so much,
sure,
and I've gone so much further that I had a hard time talking to him. Yeah, so he was wondering what I was doing, and he couldn't even grasp it in his brain, right?
Sure, as it's a possibility that how could you be doing these things and making money and being successful?
Yeah, it just the whole thing didn't make sense in his head. And then anything he had to say, it was dude, that's that was so 5 years ago.
Yeah, we talked about that 5 years ago.
Yeah, I remember I was trying to help you out with that 5 years ago, dude. What? Come on. But it was super weird because I was always told and I always realized you're going to outgrow certain friends. This is the first time I really
oh wow,
experienced it to a point where it was even when I did reach out and try to talk to this guy, it just didn't make sense, right? It was awkward.
It didn't make sense to you or didn't make sense to him?
Both of us.
Oh, sure.
Both of us.
You guys
were
both on completely different planes of thought and
Yep.
experience and
Yep, we're just living in two totally different worlds at the moment.
yeah, it's crazy.
And they don't mix. It was my first realization of that. But so that's going to happen as you grow your business. You're really just, I think when you grow a business, and I don't want to say this to be cocky or anything like that, because I have character faults still to this day, but I think that when you go into business and you want to grow a business, that it requires of you to gain character,
Sure.
Character traits that allow you to be able to do what you do. And the people that you were friends with before that who aren't developing those same character traits, it's really tough to continue to be friends with them. It's really tough to continue to hang out with them.
Yeah. It's
almost, in this instance where I was talking to one of my friends, it was impossible.
Sure.
I'm not going to call him again because there's no point. There was no point in having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if he was okay, dude, I see what you've done. I'm tired of being stuck where I am. What do I need to do?
Sure.
I'd be like, okay, step one, do this.
Right.
Like, then we can have some relation. But he was like, he's stuck and he's okay being stuck. Like, he doesn't really want to get out of there.
Yeah. Why is that?
Dude, I don't know.
Because that's I mean, we've been thinking about that. Like, because people get stuck in their mindsets, and it's really hard to get people to see the value of changing their mindset, or even get to the point where like, hey man, like the way you're thinking about this is holding you back.
Yeah, and they'll just continue thinking that way. Like, and it's so hard to change people's mindsets. And it's so funny because when you're the one that needs your mindset changed, and because I'm sure I still have mindset things that I need changed, but when you're that guy, it's so, you don't even know, right? You don't know that you need a mindset shift. And so you don't even understand the importance of your mindset yet.
Yeah.
And so then when you start achieving success, this is what I've started to realize is just in the last like 6 months to a year is like, holy crap, mindset is a huge freaking deal. And it's funny because you go look at like all the super wealthy people on Instagram, all the super wealthy people on YouTube. What do they talk probably the most about?
Probably like morning routines and like mindset stuff.
Mindset. They all talk a ton about mindset. And it's because at the level that they're at, they probably have an even greater understanding of it than what I'm at, right?
Sure.
They realize how important it is. The thing that got me like when I was first starting out is I would see these people talking about mindset, but I didn't even understand or I wasn't even able to comprehend like why that's so important. Right? So now I see these guys talk about mindset. I'm like, I'm listening to this. Like, I got to figure this out. Because if I want to get to their level, now I see like this is the ticket. It's your mind. Your mind is the biggest game, right? To play. And so it's like mindset and skill levels, right?
Sure. Skills are easy though. You just got to learn the skills.
Yeah, you can learn the skills. The mindset, somebody's like, you have to figure out what you believe that's not correct.
Sure.
Or figure out what you think about something that you should be thinking the other way about something. And that's really hard without outside influence of somebody else going, hey, think about it this way instead of this way. And then you're like, oh, and it like unlocks whole new possibilities in your world, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Would you say that how much does humility play into sort of breaking into discovering you have a weak mindset?
I don't know, probably a lot. I mean, you have to be willing to say, hey, okay, this guy is telling me like I need to be thinking different. He's got more success than I do, so I should probably listen to him, even though it doesn't seem right. Right? It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, and yeah, I was just trying to think because it's just hard to communicate the importance of mindset. And I guess it's really like, if you think about it, like all of our energy, our ideas, our actions start in our brains.
Yeah.
So if you're having trouble understanding the importance of a mindset issue, your life is dictated by the thoughts that happen in your mind.
Yep.
And if your mind is incorrectly processing the outside world, that's what it's doing when you have a poor mindset.
Yep.
It's incorrectly processing things, and that's going to turn into actions.
I think a better term than mindset would just be limiting beliefs.
Sure. Yeah,
so
sure.
things that you believe that limit you from achieving what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
So probably my best example of that, and some people may not agree with me, but me and my wife, we were probably 20, 21, 22, somewhere in there. And my wife had health problems. She had eczema all over her body. And we read this book called The Maker's Diet. And it was like just the idea that what you eat can affect how you feel, right?
That's not true.
And how your body operates. It was a new idea to us. And so we had this limiting belief that it didn't really matter what we ate. Our bodies were capable of turning it into fuel. Like we didn't even think about what we eat affecting how we feel or affecting our performance, right? Or affecting the eczema on our skin, right? For my wife. And so the idea that, what we do eat what we eat does affect our the way we feel and the eczema on our bodies and the way that we operate. It was like an unlock in our life, I'll call it, right? So we went from this limiting belief that it doesn't to the truth, I believe, that it does, right? And like since then, my wife's been able to start eating healthy. She's very fit. She has got her eczema under control. She feels a million times better, all because she changed the way that she believed about something, right?
Right, sure.
So the same is true like in your business. When you're growing your business, you have all these limiting beliefs, and it's really just things that it's like, I like to think of it as like truths that you don't know yet.
Yeah.
And so you're living in this limiting belief, right? You're living in this false reality. And there has to be some sort of outside force that changes the way that you're thinking about it. And that's why it's so tough to do. It's so tough to get out of those limiting beliefs, right? Because you almost need somebody. You need like somebody, that's why books are so powerful, right? It's just knowledge. It's like learning. It's like learning truths in your life,
right?
That will then change the way that you do or the way you think, and it will completely change your entire life.
Well, it can show you what's possible.
Yeah, totally.
Like you can live a way that's different than you are living now. Like you, person sitting across from me, you plumbing business owner, can have a different life than you have now. And I think like to like a practical level, like, I mean, pricing is very much one of those things. Like where you're hey man, there's no way I can charge that much. Or it's like,
because this is what typically happens is people call around or they know what people are charging in their area, and they're like, okay, this is like normal in my area.
Right.
So I need to build my business to fit what's normal.
Yeah, I have to build it to fit under this construct that I've arbitrarily created in my brain.
Yeah, but that construct is a limiting belief. It's It's a fake reality.
It's like a prison that you've built.
You've built this fake idea in your head that because everybody else is charging these numbers around me, that if I charge any more, they think if I charge less, I'll get all the work.
Right.
If I charge more, if I'm the most expensive in town, then I'm not going to get any work.
Right.
Right. That's a belief that a lot of plumbers believe that just isn't true.
Right.
It's a belief that they've created in their own head or somebody has told them in the past that just isn't, it's not a fact. Right. When in reality, you can go charge what it costs you to run your business.
Right.
The funny part is like you read any book about business, right? Any book about pricing your products, right? It's like, hey, you have these expenses to create the product, right? And you need to be able to cover those expenses plus make a profit margin when you sell the product. That's like business 101, super simple fact. But we don't do it as plumbers. Instead, we go, okay, I have this product. What's everybody else pricing it at?
Right.
And then, okay, I'm going to price it like that.
I'm just going to be in the middle, not too high, not too low.
With no regard to whether you're actually charging enough to cover expenses of your own business and make a profit. And that's the problem is most people aren't. Most of the people that those guys are going and looking around and seeing what they're charging, they're not charging enough and they're actually not being profitable, right? So it's kind of that's a really good example of a limiting belief, right?
And really like revealing that limiting belief just comes from an outside source, like somebody telling you that, like the first introduction to that, fixing that limiting belief is like Jared, you being like, hey, that's not right. Yeah. And then me, the plumbing business owner, being like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. But then when you show me the data and you explain to me how you're correct and I'm incorrect, then it gives me pause. And I'm like, wait a second. That actually makes a lot of sense now that you just talk to me. Because I have these conversations pretty regularly and we walk through sort of that very scenario. And I introduce guys to things like pricing your business just how you described or a pricing calculator. And even guys who are like, nah, there's no, like I just talked to a guy who's an incredibly small market. He's under the hard assumption that nobody could pay more for the service. And he could be right because he's got, like everybody's living off welfare and Social Security in his 2,500 person market. But even when I showed him the pricing calculator, he was like, that does look useful. Yeah. Because my pitch was like, dude, at least you would know that you are
yeah.
$100 under what you need to make money. At least you would know.
Yeah.
Because then at least that gives you a little insight into your business. And then you can begin to think like, how far can I push this?
Yeah.
Because I would still say, dude, there's probably people who you can push it and you can raise your price. There is people out there. But if you don't know any of those details, then you have no reason to think other than what you do.
Nope. And like for that guy right there, he probably has never thought about just moving markets.
No, I mean, he's comfortable in where he likes where he lives because of all the things and all this kind of stuff.
Or he feels stuck.
Yeah.
Right?
And even because he has another business on the side that he's trying to start up, and like even talking to him like, hey, when you run that business, like you still need to structure it under the same confines of you must be profitable.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be your first thing. Like, am I profitable doing this? Like if you start a business as a hobby and you're not going into it, like, am I going to make money at this? Dude, you're going to have a really crappy hobby. Like,
yeah, you better have some.
It's going to piss your wife off. It's going to ruin your bank account. That's like me being like, Jared, I think I'm going to go into just woodworking. You'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you going
to make custom furniture?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that could work in the right market.
Given
with
enough
the right
time,
product.
given enough skill.
Yes.
Like if it was me personally making custom furniture,
Yep.
like time to profitability would be years. Like a long freaking time.
You're talking just because of your skill set?
Yes, my personal skill set.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I understand my skills and my weaknesses, you know? But the thing is like a lot of times maybe we get into business because we have a good idea. We like this.
Yeah.
It seems like we could invest our time into this, but we're not thinking about it from a profitability standpoint.
Totally.
And then
that's every plumbing business owner that I've ever met.
Yeah,
they're like, they just think like, oh, I'm making my boss all this money, so I'm going to go start my own business. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to be cheaper and then I'll get all the work and I'll make all the money, right? And they just, because they're looking at their paycheck and they're like, I'm only making, $1,000 to $2,000 a week, but I'm billing out, 10 grand a week. Mm-hmm. This guy's making a ton of money, but they don't understand like all the other expenses of the business, right? Mm-hmm. And so they go start their own business and they don't think about profitability at all. Mm-hmm. They just think about, okay, I'm a plumber. I'm going to go do plumbing and this is what people charge for plumbing. So here we go, and off to the races. And then at the end of the month, they're like, where did all the money go?
Yeah.
My P&L says I should have 10 grand left over, but I don't know where it is.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know where it went somewhere, but I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the blessing and the curse of the plumber because it is a skill set that you can go out today and make money with on your own. Yeah. Like you can go do that. And so then it seems very easy to do, and you can charge what you would think is a good amount of money for something that is very simple to do. Yep. And so there's the blessing part. But then the curse is there's a value discrepancy between the customer and you, where you say, I would never do this for that much. That's ridiculous. And the customer says, I would have you do that for whatever because I have no desire to do that. Yeah, because I just want somebody to come fix it. Like think about custom furniture just for a second. Like, Jared, for you to make me a table and a bookshelf would take you an afternoon and it would be like good looking and you could charge me money. I'm like, thanks, Jared, $500, sure. Because you want a new table? I'm just kidding. Tell my wife I made it though, okay?
She would know better.
Yeah, she'd be like,
where'd you buy this?
Yeah, be like, oh,
who made this for you?
Don't worry about it. But it's just the value that you would put on that. Like you would make it yourself instead of paying for it. Maybe you'd probably pay for it.
Me personally?
Yeah.
I might make it myself.
Yeah.
But only if I wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
But you knew that you could even do that in a way that didn't like totally kill your time.
Right. What's your point here though?
My point is that we value things differently from the customer and the business side.
Oh yeah, totally.
And so again, the plumbing business owner, they're going to value their skills way lower than the customer.
Totally. Because the plumbing business owner is thinking of it as plumbing and the customer is thinking of it as their toilet works.
Yeah.
Or their hot water works.
Yeah.
Like I have hot water now.
Magically.
I can take a warm shower. Like a warm shower is so much more valuable than a hot water heater, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And that's how the customer is thinking about it. But the plumber is thinking of it as it's a hot water heater. I bought it for $600 and I put it in for $200. What's the problem?
Yeah.
The problem is you didn't make any money on that call. You probably lost money.
And when the customer says like, oh, the plumber came over and just did some magic and it fixed it, like the customer's being literal.
Yeah.
The customer's like, I don't know how he did it. He just showed up and then he left and then now it's working.
And it doesn't leak.
And it's magic to me.
I'm happy.
Like, people pay a lot of money for magic. You know what I'm saying?
Tons of money for magic.
I mean, Harry Potter World's kind of expensive.
Dude, is that Disney?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Or something like that.
Disney's freaking expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's not about what you do. It's about what you don't do. Limiting beliefs. That was a good one. Number 3, you should look at making money as a means to fulfill your potential.
I don't know
What do you think about that?
Those are a lot of cool words, Jared.
Like, rather than looking at money as a means to an end, like to more money, right?
Sure.
Look at, like, have a use for it, right? So think of your ideal life, the ideal version of you, okay? What does that look like, right? You're probably fit, in shape.
Nope.
You probably have good relationships with your wife. You probably, live in the house you want. You drive the cars you want.
Sure.
You have as much free time as you want. You get to work on what you want to work on. And you probably have some money in the bank, right? You probably have some money. So, like, rather than just making more money for the sake of making more money, think about, like, what you actually want out of life and then go make that much money so that you can actually achieve the things you want to achieve, right? Because if you think of it the other way, you're never going to have enough money, right?
Sure, if you don't have an idea of why you're actually doing the things you're doing.
Exactly. And so you're going to, like, what's really rich, right?
Sure, of course.
So the guy who is always making money and never has enough, right? And he's constantly trying to make more money. Is he really rich? Or is the guy who has said, you know what I want out of life? I want this, and he's defined it,
right?
And he's gone out and he's made enough money to achieve that? I would argue he's the one who's rich, right?
Sure.
I got however much money I want in the bank. I got whatever cars I want. My family is in order. I'm fit. I got enough time to do the things I want to do. I got enough. I get to work on things that I enjoy. Like, that's the rich guy, right? So I would argue to go figure out what that is for yourself and think about it.
Yeah.
And make that happen.
I think the problem that guys run into is they don't think that as a plumbing business owner, you can be rich enough to achieve these things.
Oh, dude, totally can.
And so, yeah, but I think they get into it and they're like, well, I'm just doing this because, like, it's what my dad did. I want a life not quite like his because dad was cool, but dad wasn't around that much because he had to make a bunch of money to keep us occupied or whatever. And then there just isn't this.
Dad had this plumbing business and he had to work his ass off and he never really made enough money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's this, again, a limiting belief that says, I can only get so far doing this. And so why would I even think beyond this? Like, why would I dream that I could have this car in this house? Like, that just seems like, if anything, that just seems like a way to make myself upset because I won't ever achieve that. And it's sort of almost like a hopeless position.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not true.
Yeah. Sure. It's a limiting belief.
Like, I know we talk about this a lot, but if you have a plumbing business, you're literally like sitting on an opportunity to make really good money.
Yeah.
Relatively quickly. Like, it's not that hard.
Right.
Like, if people were to look at my business, if they could just I wish people would just get a glimpse of it and they could see, holy crap, this isn't that hard.
Right.
Like, this is, like, my business is a small business. It's considered a small plumbing business, right? So we're trying to hit 6 million this year. We're on track as of now. We're doing some, typically the last couple months of the year, we slowed down a little bit. So we're trying to do some things to stop that from happening, to make more productivity so we can hit 6. So hopefully we do. But last year we hit 5. This year we're on track to hit 6, right? And I just had my meeting with my general manager. On average, we've had 7 plumbers working throughout the year. 7. So we have.
How many do you have on staff?
I have 9 right now.
Sure.
But we had 8 when we started out. One guy tore his bicep.
Right.
He's been out for a long time. We just hired somebody, guy number 9, like a few weeks ago. He's been in training. So we've been 7 guys for all but like 2 months out of the year.
Right.
And we're on track to hit 6, right? 6 million in revenue at 23% profit margins, right? So with
7 guys.
7 guys.
Those guys are selling a lot.
They are. They're good dudes.
Yeah.
They're awesome. So 7 guys out in the field, 2 CSRs and a general manager. And I don't have to be there. We set all that up we built it, set it up in a year and a half.
Wow.
It took us to make that happen. I'll say 2 years because there was I was still involved probably 2 years. I was pretty heavily involved. But since then, if the thing spits out a lot of cash, it's pretty headache free and it runs very well on its own with very little input from me. And anybody can achieve that. Right. So if you're sitting if you're a plumbing business owner right now,
right,
like you can do that super easy.
Right.
And if you're doing that, if you're doing $6 million a year at 23% profit margins, what is that a year in profit?
I don't know.
Call it 20%. What's 10%? $1.2 million. Okay.
Yeah.
You're making $100,000 every single month. So you can go buy $1 million home. It's going to cost you about $7,000 a month. You could go buy, I don't care, your Lamborghini. It costs you another $7,000 a month. You're at $14,000 a month. You're still living well under your means.
Yeah.
You could go, you can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what else people want. Do they want a boat?
I guess if they wanted to.
You could pay a couple grand for your boat.
Go on vacation.
You can go on vacation.
But that's like a sporadic thing.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. At that point, like you're right there. You're like most people can live. $1 million isn't a ton of money, but most people could live what they would think is a really good lifestyle if they were making $1.2 million a year.
Especially if they came from like plumber pay, $35-$40 an hour.
Yeah.
And then suddenly in a couple of years they were making $1 million a year. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't know how to spend that money. You'd be very like be like sort of almost like, dang, what do I do with all this?
If you just did that, if you just owned that business for 10 years and you took $10 million and you invested it into the S&P 500, it's got a return rate of 9%. What's 9% of $10 million? What's 10%? You're the mathematician.
I am not the mathematician. I just sit here until you finish the answer.
You're the mathematician. I'm going to call it 100,000. Is that right?
Good enough for me. I'm a mathematician.
10% of 10 million? Come on, dude. It's $1 million.
You just said it was 100,000.
So you
come on, dude.
Like then you have like guaranteed cash flow and it's not relying on a plumbing business. Just 10 years in. If you were just patient for 10 years. If you just lived off the 200,000. We're not factoring taxes in here, so it's not a very fair
that
equation.
was last podcast we talked about all that.
We talked about a lot of taxes. But the idea is you're sitting on a opportunity of a lifetime to completely change your life and be able to go build whatever you want and do whatever you want for most people.
And the purpose of this conversation is to say that if you really want to get there, it requires you thinking differently.
Requires you to go, what do I want out of life? And money is not the means to more money. Money is a tool to get me to where I want to be, right?
Right.
Money is a tool I can use to go create the life that I want, the freedom that I want, and the cars that I want, the whatever it is that you want.
Give away to the charity, give away to your church, whatever it is that you want, like that. You have that ability as a plumber to do that.
Yes.
And like, I tell this to guys all the time. It's like, what's so cool about your skill set, being a plumber, is it's not like some gimmicky thing, right?
No.
It's not like, oh, I'm doing drop shipping and like, this whatever.
It's
like
never going to go
factual
away.
thing. No, it's always going to be there.
It's always there.
And if you've gotten to the point where you're like, okay, I have the licensing to hire guys, like, dude, you are in the true like 0.001% or whatever the percentage is of people in our country of America that capable of actually achieving real wealth.
Yeah.
Like in a much more like quote unquote guaranteed, right? If you can just apply the concepts, like you can get there. Like the only thing that's going to keep you away from that is you.
That's it.
Which is where you want to be. You want to be in a situation where I am the ultimate limiting factor in this thing. It's not my market. It's not like other people, other companies. It's just me.
Yep.
And you are in that position as a plumber.
Yep.
Like if you try to go drop ship on Amazon, Amazon is against you. Oh, you can't really dictate what Amazon can do, right?
Yeah.
I can't just like wake up tomorrow and be a better person and like have good discipline and my drop shipping store works.
Plus, that's relatively new. Like, that's only a few years old.
Yeah, it's untested, and you're not making $1 million a year off of drop shipping.
Plumbers and plumbing companies have been around since the invention of plumbing, right?
Yeah.
It's not, plumbing is not going to go away. People's need for fresh water and running sewer lines at their house aren't going to go away. Right. So it's such low risk, such high reward.
Oh, dude, it's incredible.
And you're so close to it that if you would just if you would just gain the knowledge and put in a little bit of work, you could get there and achieve more than you ever thought possible in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing from you getting there is your brain.
Yeah, I say that because I didn't know what I've done was possible until I did it. Right?
Yeah, none of your friends thought it was possible.
No. They all thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I was actually.
I don't know if you thought I was crazy, but
I never thought you were crazy. I'm, man,
everybody else.
I'm just
like,
hanging out, going cool. Jared's doing cool stuff.
Yeah, everybody else was like, how many vans did you buy? Like, I don't know, a bunch of them. Are you doing all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm building something. I'm making money.
I was more like, yeah, he's gonna either do fine or it's not gonna do fine, and then it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah, but like in that instant, like that's how I was thinking too. Well, this is either gonna work or it's not gonna work, right? Now I look back on it, I'm like, man, my chances were so good of it working, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that.
Yes.
But back then I was thinking the same thing, and it was like, well, if it doesn't work, like, worst case scenario, I'm just stuck where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm still back. I just go back to square one, right? Yep. And I try it again, or try it with something else, right? But like the situation I was in where, like, I was a plumber, I was making, anywhere from 80 to 130K depending on the year. And I had insurance and benefits, and we had pretty low expenses, and my wife was working as a teacher. She was making 60K a year. So we were doing okay for ourselves, but it's like, making 130 to 150,000 a year. Sorry, we were making more than that. We'd usually make around 130 to 160, 170 some years. It wasn't enough.
Right.
Like, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was
you were still thinking about, like, how much money do I have in the bank account when I make this purchase?
Yeah. I want to, not really. Like, we were living pretty good, but it was like, I wasn't going anywhere.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
And so I was bored. I was tired of being a plumber, number one. Like, the thought of, I was in my 30s, the thought of plumbing for 30 more years sounded terrible. I was already like 18 years in, started when I was 18. That math doesn't work out either. How old was I when I started my business? I was 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was 17 years in on my plumbing career, and the thought of doing 30 more years was like,
you're like, nope, I'm
holy
good on
cow,
this.
I do not want to do this for 30 more years. So it was like, that was my misery of like thinking about that. I got to do this for 30 more years. I have to find something else to do. I got to do something else. So I went and did it. But yeah,
for me, the chief irony in my life at this moment is I would talk to my wife, because I went into the aviation space like right away, and I just stayed in that. And I would talk to my wife like, damn, babe, if I would have just been a plumber, I would have been making way more money than I would be at this moment.
Dude.
And it would have been this. But what's so funny about it is, like, here I am working adjacent to plumbing businesses.
Yeah. But like, the poopy thing about you had to work a lot just to make ends meet.
I did, but I just considered that that's what you just had to do.
That's just what you had to do.
Like, life was like, hey man, if you want to live the life that you want to live right now, you need to just work 60 hours a week plus, and that's how you get it.
Yep.
And I just got accustomed to that. And I mean, in my instance, I never really had like a clean way out, because when you work in aviation, especially if you're not a pilot or a mechanic, there's not really any career that can get you above. Like 150K a year would be like, holy moly, I'm balling at this job.
Yeah.
And so it was like,
and then you have kids and you've got a wife, and you can't really afford to like go do something else.
No, and I didn't have any transferable skills to just go and apply somewhere that would pay me what I was making at 60 hours per week.
And you're
right?
working 60 hours per week. So to go learn new skills and apply them,
There's just no time.
it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to take your plumbing business to the next level, you're going to want to join our coaching program over at Wealthy Plumber, where you can get everything you need to grow a multi-million-dollar plumbing company, including pricing calculators, SOPs, email campaigns, and the whole 9 yards. If you want to check it out, go to wealthyplumber.com. That is wealthyplumber.com.
Had I been a plumber, I would have spent all those like 10 plus years learning that skill and then can be in the position of like, I can go start a plumbing business.
Yeah.
And like, not to say that if you're not a plumber, like I could go as a non-plumber, start a plumbing business. It would just be a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
And more expensive, like we talked about last episode, because I can't do the work.
Yep.
But man, if you can do the work, like there's such an opportunity. And it
Yeah,
just provides
huge.
like one, the mindset that it is possible to actually make real money.
Yep.
That you don't have to just suffer for the rest of your life. And then just actually learning how to do the business side.
Yep.
I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he hadn't started his business yet. He's going to start it in 2 weeks. And I was talking to him, and it was funny because our conversation, he was just talking like a plumber, like, yeah, I think I'm going to do this. I was like, dude, you are no longer a plumber. Like he even told him, he's like, I introduced myself as like his name, the plumber. And I was like, you can't introduce yourself like that anymore.
Yeah.
Like you are now the plumbing business owner.
Heck
Like,
yeah.
like get out of that headspace of like, you are, I'm Joel the plumber. Like, no, that's not me anymore.
You're not a plumber anymore, buddy.
I am a plumbing business owner.
Yep.
It's a different thing now.
Yep.
And like you can put down the, being proud of being an excellent plumber, which is fine, but just put that on the shelf.
Yep.
And now embrace the idea that now you have to be an excellent business owner.
Yep.
Or else you
gotta
have to go back to plumbing.
You got to learn the skill of business owner.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah, man.
Okay, what are we at? Number 4?
Number 4 over here is you got to develop your discipline muscle.
Oh, dude, this is a good one.
You like this one?
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, you got to develop your discipline muscle because if you don't have discipline, you're not going to get anything done.
Oh, come on. I might get some stuff done.
You'll get some stuff done, but it'll
stuff
be
I
very
wanna get done.
sporadic
Oh.
and you won't be consistent with what you get done. So, and discipline is, we'll talk about my new calendar schedule. Discipline is doing the things anyways when you don't want to do them.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's that's a really helpful definition of discipline.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's just like, I just do the things consistently.
Yeah. If you want to do it, that's motivation.
Yeah.
You're motivated to do it.
Doesn't count as discipline.
Motivation doesn't last, right?
Yeah.
And motivation, like you can try and motivate yourself over and over and over again and stay motivated, but it never lasts. It always falls off.
Unless it's like eating ice cream. I'm super disciplined at eating ice cream.
You're motivated at eating
No.
ice cream.
It's discipline, man. I'm very disciplined at eating ice cream.
So on the other hand, discipline is when you do something that you don't want to do, right? Regardless of the fact that you don't want to do it, what you're doing is you're developing a skill of discipline. Yeah. So you're working that discipline muscle, and now you're getting better at being disciplined.
Yeah, it's its own like skill set.
Yes, and it's going to make it easier to be disciplined the next time. So the more you work it, the bigger it gets, just like your muscle, right? And it's super important to be disciplined in your plumbing business or as a business owner, right? Because there's things that you're going to have to do that you don't want to do.
Right.
And you're going to have to do them consistently over and over and over again if you want to be successful. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to be able to do that. So you got to work that discipline muscle.
And what's cool about that is you can start working that like right now.
Right now.
Like
Doesn't matter where you're at.
You don't need to have a business to work it. Like you could still be working for somebody else, but you can start doing things in your life to start cultivating discipline.
Yes.
And this is where like a community of like-minded people is really helpful.
Yes.
Because I know like if you're just working with everybody else, and then you're like, I wake up 2 hours before anybody else at my job wakes up so that I can read, so that I can do these things. Like, because I've been there and I just remember coworkers being like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Don't
it's
you
like
just...
when you hang out with me, you're way more disciplined.
You're very influential, Jay. You're very
Dude,
influential.
Dude, I am. I'm a pretty influential person. That's like a running joke.
Yeah, it's a running joke. We're still working on it.
No, it's what you're saying is true though. Like, you know, what's that phrase? You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're hanging out with a bunch of undisciplined people, it's going to be real hard to be disciplined because they're going to be, hey, why don't you come over for dinner at 7:00? And you're like, dude, bro, I got to go to bed at 9.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
And then they're going to make fun of you. They're going to call you a wuss and all this kind of stuff. And and I mean, really, that comes out of, I would say, honestly, it comes out of jealousy. Because typically, like, listen, hear me out. Typically, especially men, we want to be disciplined. Because the people we look up to are disciplined, strong. Like, nobody's like, yeah, I really like that skinny, weak guy who has a crappy life. Like, he's my...
Hey, man.
He's, well, okay. Well, your legs are really strong, though.
I'm not weak.
But
I'm skinny.
Skinny strong. But my point is like, I think it does come out of a position of jealousy because they're saying, I'm not strong enough to make this choice. Like, I wish that I could make these choices in my life to be disciplined.
They're not willing to sacrifice, like we talked about earlier, the things in their life that they'd have to sacrifice to be disciplined in the things that they want to be disciplined in.
Yes.
I think they like the idea of it, but then at the end of the day, they're just not willing to make that decision.
And like now in our current state, we can listen to a lot of like disciplined powerhouses and we can feel like we're moving the needle on that, even though we're not. What I mean by that is like, I can listen to like Joe Rogan. I can listen to like this podcast. I can listen to like we're pillars of discipline, Jared. But we can listen to all these people and like get all these ideas and then go back and change nothing in our lives. Yep. And somehow still feel like because we know the ideas, we're progressing. Jared, once I know enough, I'll start doing the stuff.
Yeah, I'll start doing it someday.
But not right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've definitely told you that before when you're like, yo, man, you working out yet? I'm like, I will eventually.
Tomorrow.
I'll get there. I'm just not
There's
there
a
yet.
Warren Buffett quote on that. He says, like, I love Warren Buffett quotes, but he says, if you're constantly doing it tomorrow, you're never going to get it done. It's like... Good point, man.
I wonder if those are really his quotes or those are just...
Those are really his quotes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so he says, if you really want to get it done, you got to start today.
Yeah.
Right? It's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
I came up to this, to a moment of discipline today. I was talking to your son, Costin. Yeah. We were going over sort of like our goals and what we want to do each week. And I've been working out 4 times a week. And he's like, so you know that 4 times a week is like 70%. Do you really want to be working out a C-? And I was like, shut up. Like, and he's like, imagine like that guy that you want to look like that strong guy. And imagine just being 70% of that. Is that what you want to be? And I was like, Costin.
Did he really say that?
Yeah, he did.
Dude, I trained him well.
I think he's got a fitness coach, actually.
He does. He got one. Yeah, I was looking at it today.
Yeah. But I was like thinking about that. And then I looked at
Eddie, my general manager. He hired the same guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Funny. Eddie's strong.
I was going to influence you into hiring him as well.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'm so influential.
You just want to do it. See, but you got to get around other people who are harder to be influenced so you can really test your influence. But anyway, my point is I looked at it and I was like, he's right. Because like I was like, yeah, I'm disciplined. I did it, consistently working out 4 times a week.
Yep.
But then now suddenly I learned this new thing. I'm like, crap, I actually have to work out 6 times a week. Because that is actually closer to a proper ratio to move the needle.
Yep.
And then it's just like, okay, I got to go stretch that discipline muscle.
Here in like 4 episodes, you're just going to be like...
Yeah, but what you guys don't know is I just wake up early and kind of walk around my garage watching YouTube videos of finding
That's your exercise.
Yeah. And lifting the phone, do the old finger stretches.
Oh, man. That's funny. Yeah, you got to be disciplined, okay? And I think part of that, like, so I like to think of it this way. If you have a goal, you need to figure out what your goals are, first of all. Everybody knows they need to set goals and write down goals and achieve goals. But it's like, that's the easy part. Okay, I have this goal. Then you need to go into and go, okay, what are the steps I need to take in order to achieve this goal? If this is my end result that I want, what are the things I need to do in order to get to that end result, right? So like if you want to get buff and ripped, it'd be going, okay, what's my plan from now until when I want to achieve this goal to be able to get there, right? What are the individual things I need to do in order to get there? And then going in, I forget what this is called. What's that graph? It's like a T-bar graph?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, so like write down on a piece of paper, just draw a giant T, little lopsided, make the top of the T a little shorter. And on one half, you've got your recurring tasks. And on the other half, you've got your one-time tasks, right? So like recurring tasks, if you want to get super fit, would be like work out 6 times a day, right? Work out Monday.
6 times a week. I'm not that
6
crazy.
times a week, sorry. Monday, do
Jared,
this.
I can't come to work today. I got to work out.
There you go. So like work out 6 times a day. Maybe even put like, okay, Monday is, I don't know how they split it up. Arm day, back day, leg day, whatever, right? Those would be your recurring tasks. One-time task might be, I need to go talk to Costin and figure out that personal trainer he hired so I can go get him hired so that I can actually achieve the goals that I want to achieve, right? And then you would go to your calendar. And this is the key. This is what successful people do is they go to their calendar. They take those recurring tasks and they just throw them in their calendar. So you'd block off. You know you got to work out 6 days a week. So you'd pick the 6 days a week you're going to work out.
When you're going to do it.
And you would block that time on your calendar, right? And you would make sure and give yourself enough time for that. First thing you're going to do actually is you're going to block off your sleep time. And you're going to develop the discipline to go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day. And whether it's the weekend or if it's the weekday, you're going to go to bed and you're going to wake up at the same time every single day.
Okay, here's my pushback. Jared, how am I going to have fun?
Dude, the thing is you have to realize and you have to understand that the fun of being disciplined and achieving your goals is way more fun than sleeping in on Saturday morning.
You don't know how much I like sleep, though.
I'm not saying you can't sleep in on Saturday morning and still achieve your goals, but this is what I would do.
What you're saying is if you want to give yourself a pattern of success, then it requires you do things a certain way.
It requires you to recognize what success looks like, then come up with a plan of how you're going to get to success, and then putting that in your calendar. And blocking off that time, and then having the discipline when that time comes to actually doing that thing, right? That's how you achieve results that you want, success, right? And the more you do that, the more you put that stuff in your calendar, and the more you flex that discipline muscle of actually doing the things at the time that you said you were going to do them.
When you don't want to do them.
When you don't want to do them.
Because it's most of these things you don't want to do. I don't want to work out. Like working out sucks.
I hate working out.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's miserable. I like working out. I hate lifting weights. The passion.
I was thinking about that. We should build a rock wall in my garage.
No, I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to get just bigger than you before you get there.
Okay.
Because of my calendar system. And I'm going to hire that. I'm actually going to go hire the coach.
You've actually already hired him. You should get a company. You should get a company package.
There you go. Anyway, so you're going to go do the things, right? On your calendar. You're going to live and die out of your calendar. That's a super odd thing for most plumbers coming out of the field because they don't have a calendar. They don't even like living out of a calendar seems weird. So if you went and looked at my calendar, it's like 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. is blocked out for sleep. I know that I got to be in bed by 9 so that I can fall asleep by 10 so that I can wake up at 6. I still get 8 hours of sleep because that's how much sleep I need or I feel like crap. And then my day is filled with all of my recurring tasks already blocked in my calendar, right?
And we're talking about a Google Calendar here, right?
Google Calendar. Okay. So like if you're a plumber and you just started your business, like you might block off like I'm going to run service calls for 6 hours consistently every day because that's how I'm going to get to my goal of getting out of the truck, right?
Yeah, sure. Because that's a definable thing that you can do.
I want to get out of the truck. What's my plan? I'm putting together a business, right? So my biggest restraint right now is cash flow. So I need to go be a technician to generate cash flow. So I'm going to block off, maybe in the beginning, you block off 8 hours a day. You're just being a technician, right? And until you can get enough cash, you have enough work, you can hire a couple more guys, maybe you can shorten that time that you're a technician. And then you're going to pull out of the truck, right? Once you have enough technicians generating enough revenue to pay for the business expenses and you not generating revenue anymore. So at that point, that's when you can now work on your business instead of in it, which is a beautiful thing.
And this is where if you start this calendar strategy early, you're going to be accustomed to then using that time that you've just earned well.
You'll have the discipline muscle pre-flexed, right?
Ah, yes.
So like you should schedule, like I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to like read and do my journaling at this time. And I'm going to gain knowledge at this time, right? I'm going to work on this skill set of this at this time. And schedule that stuff in your calendar. I'm going to go hang out with my wife and kids at this time. We're going to eat dinner at this time. And then stick with it.
Yeah, but like, what if, let's see.
You don't have to be like, so in my calendar, I have red tasks. Those are cannot move, do not move. They have to get done.
Right.
Then I have purple tasks. The purple tasks are just fillers. They're things that need to get done, but they don't necessarily need to get done right then. So they can move around. So if I have a task that takes me longer than I thought, I might move that one over a day or something like that. So you can do that with, you know, like dinner time. It's a task that it moves around, right?
Yeah, sure.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think when you have some flexibility programmed in the calendar, it's good, but also it's really important to be intentional with the time. Like what's really helpful about having a calendar laid out is you can actually see what you can do like realistically. So what happens is when you have a wife and you have a family and you have these responsibilities, you don't have a lot of time for other stuff, like hobbies, we could call them, or learning even. And so, but when you put it all on a calendar, like, so for me, like mountain biking is an example, right? Where I threw mountain biking on a calendar so that Jared could come along with, and I had the Friday morning ride. And last night I was like, I ain't going mountain biking tomorrow morning. That sounds miserable because we just got done. And then I realized I was like, my kids are off on school on Fridays. Like they need a little catch up in their schedule too. So I was like, I'm just going to remove that one. But like now I know in my head, like, okay, 4 times a week is probably unrealistic. So 3 times it is. But I wouldn't have really known that if I hadn't have put it on a calendar because I would have expected that, well, I want to do 4, so I should be able to do 4. And to me, the sacrifice isn't worth it to like wake my son up who's already had a long week of school. Like, we're going again. Like when I could just use that day to recoup, hang with the fam intentionally, and then we'll go mountain biking the next day. So putting things on a calendar lets you know what's possible when you want to add something into your life. And then you're not just, then you're not disappointed when you're like, I can never like go play golf. And it's like, yeah, you can't because you can't make time for that. There isn't a proper sacrifice for you to make to do that.
And that's that goes back to like one of our other points is if you do this, it's going to be real clear the things you're going to have to sacrifice in order to achieve the goal that you want to achieve. Right? You might have to sacrifice golfing 3 times a week for the next year in order to achieve the goal that you want to achieve, right? You might only get to golf once a week. But is that going to be worth being able to golf every single day in 2 years or in a year? That's for you to decide.
And I think by putting it on a calendar, you can really see what the sacrifice requirement is. Because what's cool about a calendar is it's objective. It's like, this is how much time you have. Golfing's going to take you 4 hours, dude. So all these other things are in the way.
That's why I don't golf.
This takes you too long. I know.
Like I look at all these wealthy people and a bunch of them golf and I'm like, I don't want to spend 4 hours golfing.
What you could do is while you're...
It seems like a really good way to get involved with other wealthy people and have tons of time where you can talk to them, right? That part seems great. So like building those relationships. But man, can you imagine me on a golf course?
You'd probably be impatient. You'd be bored.
Do you need to be patient?
On golf? Golf is hard.
I haven't golfed at a real golf course like ever. I golfed at golf courses in Fairbanks, Alaska.
That doesn't really count.
They're like, not too many people are there. They're kind of jankety, you know.
Golf is kind of like something, because I played golf for a while, and really it's something that, it's a sport that you can get really heavily involved in because there's so much technical minutia to doing it well. And like you can feel really good after mastering little things. And so you just want to do it a lot, but it just takes up a lot of time. And then for me, what's hard about things like golf, where I'm like, okay, well, I got to devote time to play it. But then I have to devote time to practice it. And then I have all these time slots. And then I think like, is this actually something that is like...
that you actually want to do?
Or it's going to pencil out in the end? Like, is this going to drive me towards the global goal of whatever that is I want my life to be?
Yeah, then how are you going to have time to play drums?
Yeah, or
all
like
that good stuff.
go mountain biking, or like hang out with my family, or all those other things. So, but when you put it on a calendar, it's just very obvious to say like, oh, well, I'm golfing 8 hours a week.
Yep.
And I'm seeing my kids 7 hours a week or something like that, right?
Yep.
And then you can weigh your priorities and do whatever you want.
Yep. Okay. Got to develop your discipline muscle, and you got to put that stuff on your calendar.
Yeah.
And
make it real.
And be disciplined enough to actually do it when you don't want to do it.
Yeah. Don't just put it on your calendar and not do it. That doesn't count.
No, not at all. Number 5, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, come on, man. This is where you're going to talk about cold plunge for like 35 minutes?
No. That might help you out. I don't know.
They're expensive.
You got to get comfortable being like living in a state of uncomfortability, right?
Is that a word?
I don't know, but it is today. It is on this podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
And I say that because like when you start doing business stuff, whenever you're doing something new and different that you haven't done before, that you don't have a track record of, like being successful at or watching it do its thing, right? It's very uncomfortable. It's like sticking a bunch of money in the stock market for the first time, and then the stock market goes down. You're like,
screw it, I'm out.
Yeah, I know.
I'm out, pulling out.
Exactly. Yeah,
I lost $400.
It's uncomfortable, right? It's like when you go get a new job in something that you've never done before, and you got to go for day one. It's a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
But like in that instance, like if you never put money in the stock market, and like what chances of you putting money in the stock market and never going down is pretty much zero, right?
Right.
So if you never put money in the stock market and you never get comfortable with those dips and those waves, right? Then you're never going to get the benefit of putting money in the stock market. If you never go get a new job because it's uncomfortable to have those first few days, or, maybe you're not very good at it.
Right, sure.
There's all these things like maybe I'm not going to like it. Maybe it's going to, I don't know. I haven't gotten a job in a long time, so I don't remember, but.
You're doing pretty good.
Okay, good. Like it's uncomfortable, but if you don't do it, then you're never going to get the benefit of possibly getting a better job and raising your income and producing more in life, right? Or achieving more in life, achieving more of the life you want. It's like that with your business as well. Like when you start doing business stuff, it's freaking uncomfortable.
Yeah, sure.
It is not something
it's a whole new world that's untested and untried for you. And
yeah, it is not something you're used to. It's out there. You're like, holy crap, right? And it's like I said earlier, it's like a freaking roller coaster.
Yeah.
Where some days you're like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I can't believe how good this is. It's the best on the planet. I actually made money today. I've got technicians out working. Everything's running perfectly. And then literally the very next day, or sometimes even like an hour later, you're like, oh my gosh, I freaking hate this thing. Yeah. Or you're like, freaking out. Like, is this going to like even work? Is this going to explode at any minute? Right. And it's just because you're not comfortable with your business yet.
Right.
You're not comfortable with the things that are going on in your business. Right. So you got to get comfortable with them.
So how do you do that?
I think it just comes with doing like kind of earlier in the business. But I think if you can go into it knowing it's going to be uncomfortable,
that helps.
That helps. And knowing that other people do it and it's fine, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I think the biggest one is doing it. So and giving it enough time to do it. So for me, like all the same stuff still happens in my business that happened in the beginning that made me uncomfortable. We still get the occasional 1-star review. That used to make me super uncomfortable, super emotional.
You'd lash out at everybody around you.
Guys still do stupid stuff, right? And they do things that we don't want them to do. And sometimes they're childish. And we still have problems and things still happen and vehicles get wrecked and all the same stuff still happens. And we have days where we make very little money. Like cash flow is like down, way down. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? In the beginning, I would be freaking out.
Right.
But now, just because I've done it enough times, I've got the reps in, I've watched it long enough, I'm now comfortable with it because I know that that's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's just this uncomfortable thing. And so now I'm comfortable with the uncomfort. If I look at Service Titan and we made $2,000 one day, I'm like, we'll make it up some other day.
Right. Yeah. Because you've seen a history of making it up some other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any way to know, like, when the uncomfortable feeling? Okay, because what I'm thinking is like the analogy when you're working out, right? Like, yeah, working out is uncomfortable, but sometimes if you work out, you're like, dude, that kind of hurts a little bit. And then you know that you're doing something improperly. Is there like, have you found that you could like discern that in your business where you're like, actually, that was a wrong, uncomfortable feeling? You know what I'm saying? Like the difference between good uncomfortable and bad uncomfortable.
Yeah. The things that are making you uncomfortable, right? They're making you uncomfortable because of your emotions, right?
Okay.
So it goes back to our very first thing is you're allowing those circumstances to control your emotions rather than looking at them logically, right?
So you're saying that when I'm feeling uncomfortable, that is an emotional response to whatever's stimulating me.
Yep.
And then if I am not in control of my emotions, I can't then discern if this is an actual problem or if this is just me growing the business and this is just what happens.
I think you can still figure out if it's an actual problem, but the emotional side of it isn't doing any good.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And so you can look at the data instead of using emotions to determine how you feel about the situation, or using your emotions to determine whether or not you need to do something about the situation.
Right.
So like in the 1-star review instance, if you responded with emotion, you would go in there and be like, look, you stupid customer. Like, first of all, we didn't freaking do this, and you called us, and we gave you this price up front, and I don't understand what your problem is. But the logical side, the more data-driven side would say, okay, how do we respond to this in a way that's actually gets the end goal that we want?
Right.
And you would think about it, and you would use your brain. For instance, you go look at Service Titan, and you have a bad day, $2,000 in revenue.
Right.
Emotional side of your brain would go, what the hell are these guys doing?
Call up your general manager, start yelling at him.
Yeah, no. You'll be like, I'm assuming you don't have a general manager and you're over there looking at every single job and you're like, diagnostic fee, like, why didn't he sell this? Like, why didn't he sell this water softener? Like, why is Andrew Andrew didn't do anything today, right? Or Morgan didn't do anything today. Like, what's going on? You get emotional on it,
right?
Rather than, using your logic and the data and you thinking about it and going, you know what, these guys sell like really good all these other days.
Right.
Like today was just an off day.
Sure.
We've had really good days. We just had one yesterday. We had a $36,000 day yesterday. So who cares about the $2,000 day today?
Right.
Oh, if I go look at the history of the company over the last month, we've sold enough hours to pay all of our bills already. So this slump of a day, it doesn't really matter.
It's not going to sink you.
Right? Yeah. If you start having a bunch of slump days, right, then maybe you got a problem. You got to start looking into it and saying, okay, what's going on? Why am I having slump days? But if you go into it emotionally, you're just going to be emotionally charged and you're not really going to step back and look at it and go, what's going on here? What's the problem? How do we fix it? Right?
Yeah, so I guess, go ahead.
Like that's all business is. It's just a series of problems that you have to fix, right? So when you're building your business, I got a cough. You're building a business. It's coming. When you're building a business, you're building this machine, right? And as you build this machine, you like build it up a little bit and you have these problems. So you kind of got to like disassemble and rebuild.
Right.
And then you get to the next level and you have these problems in the way you put it together. Okay. So all you're doing is fixing problems,
right?
Solving problems and creating this machine in a better way.
Right. Yep.
Right. So you need to be able to have the emotional intelligence and the aptitude to slow down and realize, okay, this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be comfortable in this situation because I actually need to just like take a look at what's going on, realize what the problem is, and come up with a solution to fix it.
Yeah. Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, because we see that, I mean, just in the coaching course. And I think we've talked about this where guys will be uncomfortable because they have to do something Like I talked to a guy today who's talking about realizing that he was going to feel uncomfortable when he had to hire somebody who wasn't in his family. And he's like, I've never done this. And he freely admitted, which was cool. He was like, yeah, this signals to me that now I'm going to have a real business.
Yeah.
Because this is a stranger who I have to hire in a certain way, and I'm taking care of this person in a certain way.
Yep.
And so it was like a signal to him. And he knew that, like in his head, he's like, it's going to be really helpful if I have other people who know what they're doing who can help me advise me through this area.
Yep.
Because it's going to be tough to do on my own.
Yeah, it's going to be really uncomfortable.
But if there's people around you who can be like, yeah, man, that's just how it feels. Then you can go, oh, so it's like when you're working out and you're like, hey, is this supposed to hurt this much? And they're like, yeah, dude, that's working out.
Yeah, that's normal.
It hurts like
no,
that.
it's supposed to hurt more.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what are you doing?
And you're like,
Wussy?
oh, well, 5-pound weights aren't enough.
Yeah. Also, like, we had a guy, he had this realization, like, he rebranded, he got his marketing going. He's one truck and a chuck, and his marketing's taken off, and it's producing jobs now.
Right.
And he's like feeling overwhelmed, and it's like, yeah, dude, you got to start hiring people so that now you don't have to be the one out doing the jobs, right? And he's like, he had this realization of, so me investing in marketing is forcing me to grow my business because there's no way I'm going to be able to handle all this call volume. And if I don't handle it, then I'm going to get 1-star reviews because I'm not able to give a good service to the customers because there's just too many of them, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, I kind of I have to push forward now. Mm-hmm. And it's a scary thought. He was like in this spot of like, oh snap, like this is real. Like I actually got to do it. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, man, that's why you're in this course to actually do it. Mm-hmm. And it was cool though. It's cool to see him like kind of have that like moment where he's like, okay, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm all in and I gotta go. Right?
Yeah. And he was questioning like, this is uncomfortable. Is this okay?
Yeah.
And again, you were like, yeah, you're uncomfortable. And that is okay. Because remember, the goal is growing.
Yep.
And it's like, so when we talk about like setting these goals of growing and all these things, like we can all be like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Oh, we're going to grow. We're going to make all this money. We're going to live these lives. But then once you finally get to the step where you're like, holy crap, I actually have to do this.
Yeah. That's when you got to like burn the ships, right?
Yeah. And just push forward.
Yep. Can't remember that guy's name. I want to remember his name.
Well, who said burn the ships?
Yeah. This dude came from Spain.
Oh, it's probably like Cortez or something.
It was Cortez. Something. He went to Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah. Went to Mexico, showed up on the beach. His guys were tired, and he knew he needed to motivate them to make it in Mexico. And he was like, these guys, they just want to go home. So he went out and he burnt the ships so that it was like, hey, how's that for motivation?
Yeah. So you don't got a choice now.
Yeah. We have to make it here, right? And that's what you need to do with your plumbing business. So like in this guy's instance, he like invested in the marketing, and now it was like, I have to make it now.
Right.
Like I have to push forward on this. That's like, sometimes that's the best position you can put yourself in because then you have to actually succeed at something.
Yeah. And you get out to the other end and what you will think is like, oh man, I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
That I was in that position where I had no other choice.
Yeah. Yep. You have, like when you're trying to go flex that discipline muscle, you're going to flex it a lot harder because you ain't got no other choice.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Burn the ships.
Yep.
I like that phrase. It's a good one.
What are we on?
We're being uncomfortable. We're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Should we have some uncomfortable silence for a minute?
Yeah, let's go. About 15 minutes.
Yeah, number 6. We actually have a bonus 7th in here, which is weird.
Oh, because you wrote 6 twice?
I wrote 6 twice, but dude, whatever, you know.
That's called hedging.
I'm hedging my bets. It's like if we need one more, I got it in the bank.
You just wrote it as 6, yeah.
Being consistent over a long period of time.
Yeah, that's huge.
Is your friend. Okay? So if you can consistently flex that discipline muscle over a long enough period of time, you're going to be one disciplined dude, right? You're going to be like master of discipline. If you can be consistent in getting uncomfortable for a long period of time, you're going to be really good at getting uncomfortable.
Cold plunge.
if you can cold plunge consistently
Yeah.
for a long period of time, cold plunging ain't going to be no big deal, right?
No big deal.
It's like Liver King. He just drops right in there and doesn't even flinch.
Eats
right?
like a whole deer's head.
Yeah, because he's done it enough. He's consistent with it.
And honestly, he probably doesn't want to do it. Like, he would probably go, I would rather just be warm.
Yeah.
But if I don't do this, I'm going to hate myself.
Okay. If you can consistently work at achieving the result that you want over a long enough period of time, you're going to be likely to get there. Like,
sure, yeah.
How does Alex Hormozy puts it? He says, what does he say? If you can consistently put in the work for a long enough period of time,
right,
it would be ridiculous for you to not achieve your goal, right?
Yeah.
Because because time is your best friend. The other phrase that I really like is, I think it's Bill Gates said, you greatly underestimate you overestimate what you can do in 1 year. We greatly underestimate what you can do in 10.
Right.
That's totally true.
Yes.
In my life specifically.
Mine too.
I usually underestimate both, to be honest with you, though. Like, sometimes I look at like, dude, 1 year ago we were here. Like, we were like way back there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I think that now, like, just with what we're doing now.
I feel like we've been doing this for
like
10 years.
I know. and like a year ago, I hadn't even hired you yet. It was like, wasn't even a thing.
Nope.
Yeah, I just started Plum Social, and I was still making all the content.
Yeah, that's funny to think that a year ago that's what you were doing.
Yeah, I was. We had just gotten done, like, really just optimizing the plumbing business, and I got bored, started doing social media for myself, and then it was like, man, I'm tired of doing this for myself. If I do it for enough other people, I could hire somebody to do the social media. And then it was like, damn, this is actually a legit business. Maybe I should hire somebody to actually like run and develop this thing. That was you. And now here we are. We've got a coaching program and a podcast, and we've been working on my personal brand all in under a year.
Right.
Craziness. If I look back 3 years,
yeah,
I'm
3
like,
years is a whole different story.
I couldn't even have.
There wasn't an idea in your head, or mine especially, that, I'm going to be living in Florida talking into a microphone with Jared about plumbing,
on his
riding mountain bikes on the weekend.
Yeah, on a podcast about plumbing. Yeah, Jared's podcast. For some reason, he has a podcast. Like, why does he have a podcast?
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense.
Look back 3 years, dude. There's no. I can't even fathom what I would be doing now.
You probably had a giant beard 3 years ago, big scraggly nasty thing,
dude. Okay, and then go back 10 years. So when I was 28 years old, I was still working for a general contractor. I was their mechanical foreman, and I had a giant beard. I was running 100-milers. I hadn't even really thought about starting my own business. And if you would have shown me a glimpse now, I would have been like, what?
Yeah, that doesn't even look like me.
Yeah. So it's wild. Like, I can't even think 10 years out.
Yeah.
I have a hard time thinking like a month out.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
There's probably a discipline in that we could improve upon, of like,
it's something that
getting better at projecting, getting better at projecting a month out.
Yes. The next skill that I want to master, and I'm working on mastering it now, is I want to be able to say, I want to be able to think bigger than I do now. So further time horizon, right? And then I want to be able to say, these are the steps I need to do to achieve my goals. And I want to be able to plan that out and then have the discipline to execute that plan and watch it come to fruition.
Right.
That'd be awesome. And I'll get there someday, but I'm working on it.
I mean, that's on the point that we're talking about, of just being disciplined consistently will yield a result.
Exactly.
And the reason why we don't necessarily believe that enough to actually go out and do that is because I would say that we've never consistently done enough things long enough. Yeah. Like, this is diets, this is exercise, this is businesses, this is new ideas that we come up with. is we say, I'm going to get fit this year. And then we give it a go for like 2 weeks and we're like, that was hard. I give up. This is stupid.
And we don't stay consistent with
Nope.
it. We're off to the next thing.
Yeah, because we
forget about it.
Because we think it's only going to take a couple of weeks to get there or a couple of months to get there. I mean, the transfer into the plumbing business is like marketing is a good example of this.
Yep.
Where like, provided you hire a proper marketing agency.
Yep.
And then 3 months down the road, you're like, this is stupid. Like, I'm not making, nobody's calling me. Like,
you were so close to it working.
yeah, exactly. I know, right? You're so close.
It's like the guy digging he got a gold claim and he's digging the hole and digging the hole and digging the hole. And he just keeps digging and digging and digging. And like 12 years in or whatever, I don't know how the story goes, but he stops digging. And he's like, screw this. I haven't hit any gold. And so he sells his claim. And this guy buys it, and he goes back to the exact same hole that guy was digging in, and it's like, ting. I don't know. Digging a shovel and you hit gold.
That's how it works.
I don't think it sounds like that, but a foot down, he finds this monstrous gold pit. What do you call that? Gold vein.
Something, yeah.
There's a term for that when it's in like where an old riverbed or stream used to take a dive and the gold would settle there. It's like is it a honeypot? Is that what they call it?
Probably honeypot.
Something
sounds
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
I remember
That's
watching
a couple
it on
different things.
What's the Alaska Gold Show?
Isn't it just like Alaska Gold or something? I don't think that one's on anymore, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But I love
Gold
that.
Rush or something?
Gold Rush. I love that show. It's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a little off topic, but I don't remember what we're talking about now.
We're talking about consistency.
Got me on that Gold Rush show.
I know. Now you're all excited to go watch that later.
Yes.
Yeah. I got something to do.
So like that guy, right? He was consistent for a long time, but just that little bit more time, he could have got it.
Yeah.
He would have been there. He would have had it. It's like the guys who stick with their marketing and then who do marketing for like 3 months and then they're like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. It's this doesn't work.
Yep.
It's not getting me enough leads. I'm paying $10,000 a month and I'm only getting this many leads. Right. They're right on the edge.
Right.
Try 12,000.
Yeah. Yeah. See if it gets you what you need.
Yeah. Where most guys lack in marketing, one thing I was thinking about is LTV.
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking about the lifetime value of their customer.
How does marketing help with the lifetime value?
It doesn't. The lifetime value helps with your marketing. Right?
Sure.
Not that it helps with your marketing, but it makes you, you have to imagine what a customer is worth to you.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. How much is it worth for you to acquire that customer?
Yeah. So if your business is in business for 30 years and you can, your average lifespan of your customer is 10, let's say, over that 10-year period, you don't have to market to them again, right? They're your customer. So how much do they spend on you in that 10-year period? Might be 10 grand, right? And so now paying $200 for that lead, when the lifetime value of your average customer is 10 grand, makes a lot of sense. What a lot of guys are doing is they're like, I'm paying $200-300 for a lead, and then I go out there and I only bill them $300, $400, $500.
So it's not worth it.
I'm not making any money, but they're forgetting, like if you go turn that customer into a lifetime customer, then they're going to continue to make you money.
Yeah, sure. And
that's part of why you need to go offer a really good service. So they call you back and they give you 5-star reviews and you become known as the company that has really good service. So everybody starts calling you back. Part of your membership plays into that. Memberships are just customer retention.
Yeah,
retaining customers longer.
Yeah, almost thinking about membership less from this can give me, income each month that's more consistent, but no, this can cement that customer to you for longer.
Yeah.
So that membership is $60 a month, but when you have to go out there and you solve one of their problems, and then that's $1,000 job, even after the discount, you just made that plus whatever you did there. Yeah. They're not going to call anybody else. They're going to call you.
Yeah, and everybody's obsessed about ROI on their marketing. That will raise your ROI ridiculous amounts, right? And if you can raise the ROI on your marketing, so you raise the lifetime value of a customer, it means that you make more for every customer that you pay for, which means that you can spend more to get customers.
Right.
Which means that because you're retaining your customers for so long, you can outspend all of the competition on the marketing just because you set your business up to actually retain customers.
Yeah.
To actually provide them with good service, to actually give them a membership, to actually pull them into your ecosystem and keep them there, right? People aren't thinking about that.
Yeah,
it's a long-term thing.
Yeah, that's the Ritz-Carlton strategy where they say, they're marketing to a certain audience, which so is your plumbing business. You're marketing to the people who want their problem solved and they're willing to pay whatever. And so the Ritz-Carlton is doing the same thing. And they're saying, hey, because a lot of customers who go to Ritz-Carlton are like, I would never stay anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because the exemplary experience that I had there is going to keep me there.
Yeah.
And so that's what you want to mirror in your plumbing business. So that customers say, I would never choose anybody else because that was just so awesome.
Yep.
And honestly, it's not that hard to get there because there's so many people out there providing subpar service.
The bar is set so incredibly low.
It's not like you're competing with a bunch of Ritz-Carlton plumbing companies.
Yep.
And even if you have like a couple in your area who are offering that, there's still so many people that you can still cement those customers to you.
Yeah. And all it takes is like that, even that company who maybe is offering a really good service, they just got to piss that customer off one time.
Right.
Or drop the ball one time. And then that customer is looking for a new company. And that company can be your company. And then if you provide them with good service, create a raving fan out of them, now you got them for a lifetime, right? Or your typical lifetime.
And then when you're like, oh, $200 a lead or whatever, you're like, yeah, that's fine because my lifetime value is, $8,000 or whatever it might be. And then you're just like, yeah, that's okay. I can pay that for that lead.
Yeah. So I calculated mine the other day, and I can only track it for the last 2 years because that's as long as I've been on Service Titan. And it's like $3,300. So our average ticket is $29.50, and our lifetime value of a customer is $3,309. So I imagine over time it'll just get better. Like that's going to get higher.
Yeah.
Like I imagine we'll see it get higher and then it'll level off.
Yeah.
And that'll be like our true LTV, right?
Yeah.
So it isn't something you can measure day one. You'd have to measure it after a while.
You need data, but it's important to look at it because then you can start thinking, like you said, in customer retention.
Yeah.
Because then you can be like, how can I retain this customer? Like what sort of reach outs can I do to serve this customer?
Yep. And are you willing to do the stuff to do that? So like this one thing that I did well, I think, in my business, and it's not that I like intentionally went out to do it, but I knew that if I could retain customers that they would come back and spend more money with me. And I knew that because it was so expensive to get a customer that was going to be worth my while.
Right.
And so when we set up our membership plan, we actually lose money on our membership, right? But those customers are there and they spend money with us and they continually come back to us.
Right.
And it's actually, and I see it now in my business. I can see how that money flows and it works. Back then I was just guessing.
Yeah.
I was just like,
yeah, sure.
I hope this works because if it doesn't, I'm setting myself for just losing money.
Yep.
But it actually works really, really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Because with your membership, I mean, you go out for that first call and then you look at that. You go out for that first call and
I want to get number 7 now.
We got plenty of time. You you go out. Come on, man. We got all day. Yeah. He listen to Joe Rogan. You know what he talks for.
Dude, how long is the Joe Rogan podcast?
2.5, 3. It depends on who he's talking to.
Oh,
Sometimes he gets up to 3.
I'm going to get on there. We're going to talk for 5.
He'll be like, who are you and what do you do? Why are you interesting? Why do I care? You'll
I
be
don't
like,
care about
oh, I ran a lot. He'll be like, Do you fight? You'll be like, no. But anyway, so like you get that customer and you go out and you say you tune their boiler.
Yep.
And then you're like, let's get you on a membership. And then with your membership, they're like, oh, I don't have to pay for this full cost right now.
Yep.
It's only going to take like, one more call. And then it worked out in your favor.
Yeah. We usually, if they're not a member, we usually make our money right then and there on them because typically if they're not a member and we're going in to do their heating work, their maintenance work, we're looking at everything in their heating system.
They probably got some stuff going on.
They got some stuff wrong.
Yeah.
And the beauty that I found of offering a membership, it's like, hey, this tune and clean that we're doing, which would normally cost you $680, you can just pay $49 a month for it now. Right. So all you have to pay today is $49. And then you sell them on that and they're like, oh, that's super cool. I can just pay $49 a month. It's like, I don't even pay for it.
Right.
In their head.
Right.
So they love that. So then we do their heating maintenance. They know their bill's only $49. During their maintenance, we're finding all of these other problems and all of these things that need improvement on their heating system. So then we go to them and we're like, hey, so everything looks good with this. We got it all tuned and cleaned. We did these things. You don't owe us anything other than the $49. Here's some other areas that I saw on your boiler that could use improvement. These things probably need fixed today. These things could probably wait. here's an estimate. Here's how much it's going to cost to fix
Right.
all these things. What do you want to do?
Mhm.
And they've only spent $49.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, sure, man.
So they're like, when they were already expecting to spend money
Mhm.
on the tune and clean,
Mhm.
on the maintenance, they're already set up. They're like in their brain, they're already like
Sure.
poised to spend money.
Mhm.
And so they always spend it right then and there, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time. And then, but where we, then the following year, it's
Yeah,
like,
gotcha.
they're paying us $49 a month, and we come back and do the maintenance, and we've already been there, and we've already discovered all of these
Yeah, there's nothing
issues.
new to
and
fix. You
we've
already fixed it.
fixed, a majority of the stuff. And so at that point, the only time we're making more money on that customer is when they have other problems.
Yeah,
right?
gotcha.
But it actually works out. Like they'll have a clogged sink, or they'll want a
Right.
new faucet put in, or they'll have a pump go out or a zone valve go out,
Right.
and they call us instead of somebody else
Sure.
because they're a member with us.
They're
right?
acquainted with you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They know that they're going to get taken care of when they call us.
Mhm.
And they're going to get 10% off, and
Mhm.
they're going to get priority scheduling, and they know they're going to get taken care of.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how we make money on it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Makes lots of money. It's a good one. And it's really nice to have that $49 a month
Yeah, just a
deposit
reoccurring
throughout
yep.
the year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
number 7 or 6.2.
Cha-chang. Let's call number 7. Number 7 is have integrity.
Mm.
When you're building your business, if you don't have integrity, it's not going to work out very well for you.
What?
Right?
Come on.
Because all of your it's one thing if you're out it's just you're working out in the field, you don't have integrity, and you kind of do some shady stuff, and maybe that one customer sees it, and maybe they tell their friend, but that's it.
Mhm.
Right? On the other side of it, it's you have a bunch of employees, right?
Mhm.
And maybe your employee comes to you and you're like, hey, what do you want to do in this situation? And you don't have integrity, and so you do some shady stuff.
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden your employee is like, dang, my boss is kind of shady.
Yeah.
Like shady stuff flies around here. So now
Right.
your employee goes and starts doing shady stuff,
Right.
right? And then the other employees start doing shady stuff. And then your business is just this shady business, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want your business to be a shady business.
Not very much security in a shady business.
Nope. Starts at the top,
Yeah.
right? You need to have integrity so that everybody underneath you, like a big pyramid,
Mhm.
right? You're at the top of the pyramid,
Mhm.
and everything bleeds down from the top.
Mhm.
And you need to be a person of integrity so that everybody in your company is a person of integrity, and everybody in your company knows that you're a person of integrity.
Right. Those are the values that you desire and you reward and you look for.
And that's the kind of person that people want to work for.
Yeah.
They
true.
don't want to work for somebody who doesn't have integrity.
Because there's
right?
typically there's more trust. Obviously, there's more trust within
Yeah.
people of integrity.
Yep. Yes, definitely. What's that Warren Buffett quote? Integrity.
You want me to get it? 'Cause it's a good
No.
quote.
I got it right here. It's what you want in your employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Integrity, intelligence, and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And without the first one, the other two will kill you,
Yeah.
right? So you can get intelligent employees, you can get energetic employees, but without the integrity, the intelligence and the energy is going to kill you,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then they'll be intelligent and put all their energy into shady stuff.
You don't want
Right?
that.
You don't want that.
want that.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
Super
practice practice integrity in your own life.
Yeah, from day one. Be that person. Flex that discipline muscle on.
Yeah, to be honest. And I mean that actually goes into this whole conversation because being honest sometimes isn't comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's a muscle you have to flex so that it becomes a habit of being honest.
Sometimes it costs you money.
Sure.
Sometimes it costs you makes you look bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause people are like, what'd you do that for? You're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Made a mistake.
We screwed up. I can tell you right now though, your customers, if you can be honest and open and have integrity, they will 100% respect that
Yeah.
over the opposite.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Don't try to cover it up or blame this or blame
Yep.
that.
Go in, if you make a mistake, own it,
Mm-hmm.
and then do whatever it takes to make it right, no matter what.
And then that goes back to the lifetime value question because, yeah, you might have lost them in this moment, but you gained them for the next one.
Yep.
And probably gained them for many after that. Just how you handled your mistakes. if you handle them with integrity.
And they're going to tell their friends,
Mm-hmm.
dang, this company, they like stick by their word.
Mm-hmm.
They do what they say they're going to do. If they mess it up, they're going to fix it.
Right.
And that goes a long ways.
Mm-hmm.
The word of mouth that you gain, the referral quality that you gain from having integrity when you deal with your customers, when things go wrong or things go bad, is one of the best types of word of mouth that you can have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you handle your mistakes well.
And it supports your company. Like, I know Alex Hormozy always says, like, you can do as much marketing as you want, but if you don't mix it with word of mouth, it caps, right?
Right.
And so you have to have on the back end people saying good things about your business.
Right.
And a part of that is when crap happens, to just put your boots on and go take care of it.
Yep.
Right. Super important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, my life feels changed.
You're a new man.
I'm a new man as of right now.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could influence
Man,
you.
you are so influential. Gosh. Just can't get over it.
All right. See you on the next one, dude.
Yes, sir.